Mercedes-AMG Interview Lounge.
It's weird when Dr. Oz shows up. I don't even feel like you're a guest. You're just a member of the family.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good thing, right?
It's a very good thing. I'm looking for a paycheck. I'm still haven't gotten anything.
Honey, we're all looking for a paycheck in this place. Dr. Oz, it's so good to have you. Can we just roll back the hands of time maybe 3 weeks ago at my wedding? Danielle Gandhi.
Yes.
Froggy. You guys all watched Dr. Oz in action.
The dancing machine over there.
You're a dancing machine.
And I love it.
I love being on the tabletops.
I put at least $3 in his G-string.
Oh, yeah.
It was fantastic.
You know what? I was just watching you in action at our series of parties that weekend, and no one soaked it up as much as you did.
Yeah.
You love to give it your all.
Well, I love being with people who are enjoying life, doing all the fun stuff. And most importantly, at that event, it was so perfectly choreographed. You couldn't dance and have a good time there. You just don't have the ability to have a good time.
Yeah. Yep.
But the music was fabulous. The people were. Usually you dance with the person you go there with, right? So after 34 years of marriage, it's usually Lisa. At your party, we were basically swinging on the dance court, right? You're moving around. I found
unbelievable.
And that the host of the wedding party, who I thought was wonderful from England,
Judge Matt.
No,
the drag queen.
Drag queen.
Tiffany Wells.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
Tiffany was over there. We're bopping it up. Maybe these are things. I'm glad no one captured it on footage.
No, we have it on footage.
Oh, you do?
We actually have a video of Dr. Oz twerking with the governor of New Mexico.
Yeah. Dr. Oz twerks?
She was twerking and Dr. Oz was twerking.
Yes, it was fantastic.
You were so Lizzo that night.
That's right. We have bipartisan commission now evaluating it.
I think the takeaway here is Dr. Oz, as important as your job is, your multiple jobs, I mean, saving lives and extending people's lives through health in the operating room, and also your TV show, which just helps us all every day. When it comes time to play, this guy plays.
Do it right.
You do.
Play hard, work hard. I tell you, the most enjoyable process for me was polling all the people who came to the wedding, and there were many.
You were polling my guests?
Yes, I was surveying them.
Okay.
I was looking for evidence. No, I was asking them what was the secret to their relationships. And we were staying at a hotel where we had some of your closest friends, and we bonded together. There were, about 24 of us hanging out. And I would ask them, how did you meet? How'd you meet's the obvious question, but how'd you stay together is the more important question. And that was the foundation of the speech that I gave, which was 7 hacks to staying married.
Which was a great speech, by the way.
And my biggest concern was Elvis is too nice. And that's why, if you may remember this, but
I'm too nice?
Yes. I included this. I said, it's one of the key lessons of life, the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It doesn't say be nice.
Well, I agree.
I know,
right? And that's important because in marriage, it's not about being nice. It's about being honest. Treat them the way you want them to treat you, which is tell me the truth, even if it comes across in a way that I don't want to hear it, even if I am ignoring the reality of what I should be doing in life. And with you and Alex, I think that is the key thing. I don't want you being too nice in your relationship with Alex.
Don't worry about that. I'm not. Ask Alex if I'm too nice. Believe me. No, I'm very honest with him.
Oh, good.
But I love that advice. By the way, you actually posted the 7 hacks on your Instagram. And if you go back on Dr. Oz's Instagram, look for the 7 hacks in the perfect marriage or the life in being married.
I actually wasn't going to post it. You know why I posted it? Because so many of my friends who were at the wedding, we had mutual friends, said, give me a speech, give me the speech.
It was amazing.
I wish it was all my work. I literally went around and collected the ideas from people who had successful relationships.
That's awesome.
But it was fun.
Let me tell you, I've been ripping off people for years, and look at this. I have my own. If you steal from me, you've stolen twice. You know what I'm saying?
The favorite one I heard from somebody was, listen, marriage is messy. Bring a plunger. And then I saw Elvis Duran. A plunger.
I'm going to have to try that.
It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
My favorite line from you was 1 + 1 = everything. And I don't think you should wait until you're married in a relationship to practice that. I think everyone in a relationship, you plus them, is everything if you really, truly love him. And let me tell you, I'm still in love with him. And I know he's asleep in bed right now. And I love you. I would much rather be there.
Yeah.
I would much rather be curled up next to Max and Alex.
That is true love.
Anyway, we've got lots to talk about, Dr. Oz. Your 11th season. Can we talk about that?
Oh my goodness!
11 seasons.
And they said it wouldn't work.
They still say that.
Oh no, that was you.
Yeah, I warned you against this stupid TV thing. But look at 11th season. Look at this. Look at what you've done, and you're never going to give yourself the credit you deserve. And we all know Dr. Oz. He doesn't take credit for anything. You have done so many great things for people, for us, for me, for Danielle, for Gandhi, for all of us. Thank you. Thank you for all these years of just doing good things.
So then, if I appreciate the compliment. I'm going to take my tax back. Here's the tax. Think of the number 11. It's 2 ones, right?
Yes.
This is the year for everybody listening right now. It's the power of one. I don't want folks sitting on their backside complaining about the government, whining about the system not working for them. We own this. We can change whatever we're facing. It certainly starts with your health, which is why the reason I love medicine is because if you can change your body, you can change the world outside of it.
Right.
So just start right there. The power of one is about the empowerment of you and recognizing the ability you have to change the world around you, but most importantly, the ability to make decisions that no one else can make for you, which are the ones around your body. And too many of us are living lives that aren't the right ones for us because they're not willing to make the brave choices. I went to church with Lisa yesterday, and we were listening to the sermon, and the minister made a powerful plea. He said, listen, you have 2 choices. You can be safe or you can be brave. They don't travel together. Sometimes you're supposed to be safe, right? You got young babies, but most of your life, we're too safe. Be brave, take chances, do something that's unique. Go on a new diet program, just figure out meditation, make up with someone that you didn't have a relationship with before, deal with your family issues, whatever it might be. But this is the year of the power of one.
I love it. All right, the power of one.
All right.
Okay, we have a focus now, ourselves. I've said this on the show many times, and I truly think one of life's best lessons is learned right before the plane takes off. And when they're giving you the safety speech, the flight attendant says, if there's a loss in cabin pressure, the oxygen masks will fall down. Always give yourself oxygen first before you help others.
Yeah.
And I think that is just a great lesson. If you don't take care of yourself first, you're not good for anyone else.
That's what I always say to parents, like moms. Like a lot of my friends are like, how do you take time for yourself and keep yourself in shape and whatever? I'm letting myself go. And I always say, if you don't take care of you, you're not going to be able to take care of your kids as well as you want to.
Yeah, I'll take it one step further.
Yeah.
Kids don't treat themselves the way you treat them.
Yeah.
They're going to grow up treating themselves the way you treated yourself.
Very good.
That's way too deep. It's way too early in the morning for that.
It's true.
It's so true. Gandhi,
Yes.
who never ever plans on having kids.
Is that true?
I don't plan on it, no.
Accidents happen.
That's fine.
No,
though.
they don't.
50% of births are unplanned. Of course, you're going to have babies.
No.
You just won't know what's going to happen.
My friend Karen, who was at the wedding, she was there with her 2 daughters, her twins.
Is she pregnant?
No, but she was like Gandhi. I never ever am I going to have kids, and she found herself in the situation where she had kids. And
Why are you guys doing this to me?
you don't have to have kids today.
Okay,
You're
thank
good. We love Gandhi because she's like the most honest person on the show. We're all honest, but Gandhi
She's honest.
has no filter. She'll just tell you right now.
Is this really an intervention?
No.
No, I was thinking what you guys were talking about. It applies to every aspect of your life, including love. Because if you don't love yourself, I think you can never truly love another person the way that they need to be loved, and you need to love them.
Let's talk about loving ourselves for a moment. Let's talk about masturbation.
Yes,
Oh, good.
that's
Perfect.
where I was going.
Now, why are people... You were going to masturbation? It's such a healthy thing.
Hugely helpful.
There's a whole list of things that we just are afraid as a society to talk about. And I use that as just one of the many examples. But you know what? There are so many things that we don't talk about that we should be talking about that are good for us. I'll start with number 1. Ding, masturbation. What else?
Well, sex per se, and there's research on this.
Sex.
The more you have sex, the longer you're going to live. It's a pretty good curve, and masturbation counts. It gets only half credit, but it counts.
Froggy.
I submit forever. Froggy's going to live.
Froggy's like, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom.
Froggy, are you blind? What are you doing?
I'm never going to die. I'm immortal.
Froggy is 108 years old. No, seriously.
He's a vampire
They
now.
did studies in North Carolina and in England, and they looked at people who had sex, and the more that couples had sex, the longer they lived. Now, it turns out it works more for men than women. I'll explain why in a second.
Okay.
Because whenever men have sex, they have an orgasm. Almost always.
Yeah.
Women, that's not the case, obviously. Many women have never had an orgasm. I think, from what I can tell, about a third of women either have never had an orgasm ever or have very, very rare orgasms. So women have to work on that because men can't find it if you can't find it. So help us. But orgasms are correlated, not sex, but orgasms are correlated with longevity. Two reasons. One, obviously, you're revving the engine of your body when you have sex. Ooh. But also, it's that intimate moment brings you to a Zen experience, which is hard to achieve most of the time.
Oh, I mean, I can almost feel it when I sneeze. To me, sneezing is like the next best orgasm thing. But the difference is I got snot coming up my nose during both.
Exactly. There's a bodily secretion being moved.
It's true. But
Gandhi, you laughed too hard. I love that.
So, okay, let's take the taboo, the taboo ribbon off of sex. Just like, there was a time, in a more serious note, that we didn't talk about cancer, or especially when I was a kid, breast cancer, you didn't talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And when you said the word cancer, you had to whisper it. Cancer. She has cancer. Let's get rid of that.
Until the 1990s, the New York Times did not print the word breast cancer.
Wow.
They would not put it in an obituary.
And I feel today's taboo topic, and I'm so glad that we've brought it out from the backstage area, is mental health. Mental health. You should talk about that just as you would talk about a broken arm. It's something we all deal with. We all need to be talking about it. Mental health is another taboo subject, which we need to de-taboo.
And it sneaks up on you in weird ways. So on my show today is Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Talk about it.
So Dog came out about a month ago, and he's very down because he lost his wife, Beth.
They were so in love.
They were. And she was his North Star. You don't appreciate that because he's a big stud running after the criminals or running, running from the law. And she was his lodestar. She was the one who kept him on track. So he loses her. He's clearly down the dumps. I get called about 2 weeks ago, and Dog has signed out AMA from the hospital, which brings up a couple issues. First of all, AMA means against medical advice. He's literally on the run. He's a fugitive from medicine. The way that he's usually chasing after bail bond people. So what happened was he had chest pain, bad chest pain, didn't get better. They dragged him off to the hospital. He goes to the hospital, and he's scared by what they're going to try to do, which is to figure out why he might be dying. So he just leaves. He runs away, which is never the right path. So he says he'll only go back if I go and take him. So I fly out to Denver. Wow. We go. We have this very deep discussion. And the issue is not getting him to go to the hospital. The issue is finding out why he left in the first place, which is a mental health issue. He's sad. He's down. He doesn't think it's worth doing anymore. There's always that saying, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but he can't see the tunnel. Mm-hmm. He's not even in the tunnel to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And if you don't deal with that depression, that doesn't matter what you do to somebody. They have to want it. So it was a deep search into, is it worth living? If you're going to die, do you want to die suddenly, like it's going to happen if you don't go back to the hospital, or you want to have a little bit of a warning so you can fix things up in life, which obviously you don't want to die, period. So if you go to the hospital, there's a chance they can save you. And then the broader theme is, who's going to motivate you? What are you living for? And for him, like most people, it's his kids, it's his family. And so there was this moment where he just sort of got his head around that reality. Mental health for me has become an epidemic issue for our country, and we're using solutions outside of us to treat them, specifically opiates, benzos. Right. Wednesday's show is about the benzodiazepine epidemic, which is going to eclipse opiates if you're not careful. If you take 2 weeks of these drugs that are supposed to help you, and you are so hooked, you cannot get off them.
Wait, am I on that show?
Yeah, that's the same show. Yes, I think it's that segment before and after you.
I'm on the opioid show. Wait,
the Benzo show.
So today's show with Dog is obviously very emotional, but very important.
Both, and I think the people love Dog because he's so real, he's so authentic, and when the light goes off, everyone sees it. He sees it obviously, but everyone can see it around him. And there's that moment which you always want to have. It's like, I spent my whole life taking care of people in the hospital. People have those come to God moments, and when you see them, it takes you to God. It just elevates everybody around you because you realize we all have the ability to transform if we just pay attention to what matters in life.
I must assume that today's show with Dog the Bounty Hunter will be emotional and will have a happy outcome. I must assume that.
Yes, well, he's still alive, which is a good start.
Okay.
Hey, so Dr. Oz is here, if you haven't figured that out already. I got to take a break. I want to come back and talk about more in your 11th season, which is just mind-blowing. I want to talk about you dancing at my wedding. We can talk about questions like, why do farts smell? Things like that.
Oh, I know the answer.
Okay, hold on. Can you call Alex and tell him to stop it? Alex must have farted 8,000 times, but he cranks him out, and he makes that face like he wants everyone to know he's done it.
Oh, boy.
He's like...
I saw him at the wedding Googling Dutch oven.
He loves that. Also, I want to talk about many things with you, Dr. Oz. And think about something you want to talk to him about. Come on.
I have something. I'm ready.
You have something?
Yes.
Danielle, you're ready?
Yeah,
All right, we'll be back right after this. Wow, everyone's texting in, loving our conversation with Dr. Oz. My friend Drew Scott. Remember Drew from Santa Fe? He's going to be watching. I'll be on the Tonight Show tonight. Is it tonight?
I love Drew.
Oh,
Yes.
it's going to be fun.
I am, tonight. And then I'm going to be on with you on Wednesday.
Yep. I'm looking. It was fantastic. You go places most people don't think you can go. It's unbelievable.
Bobby Flay, we welcomed him back to the...
Yeah.
You know, he'd been off our show for a year and a half. Some feud he was having with Danielle.
Yeah, it's all good now.
It's all good now.
It's solved. I apologize. We're good.
We've never had a feud with Dr. Oz. Let's have a feud.
Fight.
Let's get into a fight. Hey, it is the 11th season of Dr. Oz's show, and I know that you have a new segment you're going to be doing this season called Health Court. Ooh. Now, what is Health Court?
Where the doctor decides. Health Court is, there are all these battles that families have, that friends have about health. Right? For example, you're doing dirty keto. It's bad for you. You're going to die. No, I'm losing weight. You're just jealous of me.
So Health Court.
Health Court. Or, but better example, this is a real show we just recorded. A husband who's being tortured by his wife because he's got pimples and she keeps popping them. Who's right? Is she right for popping pimples because it's hygienic and all animals do it to each other, or is he right because he's scarred over because she's picking at his neck?
He's right.
He's
it's his
absolutely
body.
right.
Don't touch
But
me.
there is something very satisfying about, popping a pimple.
So pop your own
Pop your own.
pimples.
See what I'm
my
talking
God.
about? The emotions are raging, and I have expert witnesses on.
Oh.
Welcome to Health Court. Here comes our first litigant.
Ooh.
Gandhi.
Hello.
Welcome to Dr. Oz's Health Court.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
And whatever the doctor decides is final, and you'll go with it.
I'm
Go.
not sure I accept that, but that's okay.
Go.
All right, so this is more of like a mental health court thing.
Okay.
So we were talking about today, if you have bad news to deliver to someone, should you not deliver it when they're already having a bad day? I say yes, because if you wait for them to recover and start feeling good and have a good day, and then you deliver the bad news, you ruin a good day, so you might as well just pile on when they're already down.
Gandhi says, give them bad news when they're down. Kick them, hold on, when they're down.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Oz, if you can find any logic in what she just said.
Logic.
I will. So I usually have an expert witness. For example, the pimple one, I picked Dr. Pimple Popper come on. So I would normally bring an expert
Hold on, Dr. Pimple Popper. we need a new teletype or a new typewriter. Anyway, okay, so
I actually think that you should not deliver the news when they're not ready to hear it. And so if they're down already, they're going to reject you, and you'll lose your opportunity to transform them. Because the hope is you're trying to give them bad news to help them deal with the bad news.
Okay.
So you don't have to wait till their wedding day, but you can maybe pick a time when they're more receptive to hearing the bad news.
But when are you ever really receptive to hearing bad news? You're not. So why ruin someone's happy day when you can just make their bad day?
Hold on. They're
worse?
playing bongos. The bongos? No, don't kick them when they're down.
This is a crazy court day. They're not going to hear the message.
I agree with Gandhi.
Thank you, Froggy.
Thanks,
I
Frog.
do because, like Dr. Oz, you're already at a 2. I mean, you're really only going to get knocked down to a 1. But
That's
if they're
awful.
an 8 and you knock them down to a 3,
You guys are
This is the
You go
worst.
negative. If you go negative, you block everything out. Then you go into this cave mentality where you reject everything.
It's awful. This is the worst health court ever.
But what if it's news that you can't reject? Like if I'm breaking up with you, you can't reject that news. You're just going to get the news. So I might as well give it to you when you're already in a bad mood.
I've had someone reject that news before.
So have I, you're right.
All right, well, this is health court. Let's go talk to Ashley. Hello, Ashley.
Hi.
Ashley,
Hello, hi, Elvis.
welcome to Dr. Oz's Health Court. What is your question for Judge Oz?
Well, my question is, my boyfriend and I, we kind of had crazy, rough sex, and I ended up a week later vomiting, nauseous, throwing up, and having a hernia. And he's convinced that it was from him and the wild sex. Is that even possible?
Well, exactly how large is he?
Oh, gee.
Oh, he's pretty above normal.
Okay, so he has a large penis.
Yes.
By the way, the witness will answer the questions.
Yes.
So can you have crazy sex where you have abdominal pain and then actually get a hernia? Is that possible?
You're going to have crazy sex where you get abdominal pain, but you won't get a hernia from the large. No one's penis is that big. And
I like that he thinks it was
he's
him,
like
though.
walking around with his chest out and he's working out. He's like, that's all me. I'm like, no, it's not.
So he actually loves the fact that you got a hernia and he thinks it's because of him.
Yes, he's...
Yes.
Well, I'm proud of him for thinking that. But actually, the more likely it's because you were coughing or straining during the sex, which so indirectly is related to him, but not directly from the penis.
There you go. But you are seeing a doctor and you're being treated for whatever pains and hernias you have, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And I'm proud of you for having sex, Ashley. Good for you.
There you go.
Yay, sex.
And thanks for choosing a guy with a large wiener. All right, hold on a second. Large penis. All right, welcome to Dr. Oz's Health Court. We talked to Craven. Hello, Craven.
Hey.
Hey, welcome to I'm Judge Oz's Health Court. What is your question for Judge Oz? Go right ahead.
Is there damaging effects to too much masturbating?
Yeah, can you hurt yourself by pleasuring yourself way too much?
Craven, how do you spell your name, Craving? Is it Craving or Craven?
He's
Craven.
Yeah, Craven.
Okay, so you're not craving it. You just so here you cannot do damage by masturbating. You maybe cause some blistering, callus formation, but nothing serious.
Some blistering and callus.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, none of that never happened.
But if you do it a lot, can't you? You can't damage it.
No, you can't damage it. You really can't.
You can't strain your nut sack out too much.
Oh God!
No,
Oh my God.
you make plenty of stuff to come out of the nutsack. I think you're fine. You're not rubbing down there. You're rubbing the other part of the. I hope.
All right. So Craven.
Oh my God.
Do people know how to do this? Are we talking about the same activity?
Craven, thank you for calling. And you're not doing it right now, are you?
You're not.
Okay.
No.
All right, hold on one second. There you go.
Then that story that's been circulating recently about the kid who died because he did it 56 times in a row, that's hooey.
That's Huey. That's true. He's still
Knew it.
alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
He wrote the story himself.
By the way, I did not know nutsack was a medical term. Thank you.
Is nutsack and medical? I think
Judge Oz rules. No, it's not.
my typewriter ribbon is out.
But actually, it's fascinating. The true nomenclature is testicle, obviously, but then the testicle is connected to the penis via this thing called the vas deferens.
Yes.
You know why
Yeah.
it's called that?
Why?
Because if you cut it, it makes a vast difference. Boom, boom. I'll be here all week.
Hey.
Tell that to Jimmy tonight.
I'm glad you went to your medical school on Penis Day. I went to a doctor once and my hand was messed up. I don't know, carpal tunnel. And I said, there's a problem. He said, I'm sorry, I didn't go to medical school on Hand Day. Maybe someone else in your office can help me.
Maybe someone else.
Oh, my gosh. So thank you for having me on the show Wednesday, by the way. We talk about the book.
Which is fabulous, really fabulous.
It's okay.
I wrote a blurb. I'm telling you, I read the book. It's great.
You were one of the first to read it. It actually ships today, so people are getting it. So
Ooh.
My sister read it, and I was like, oh, God, she's going to read about the cocaine days and the dead body. I mean, it's weird when you write about yourself, and then people who don't know those things about you read it, and like, oh.
It's like giving birth, isn't it?
It is. What's that like? You see, I'm jealous. And tell Dr. Oz why I'm jealous about giving birth.
Because he's always wanted to do it, and he wants to feel a baby inside of him, and he wants to know what it's like to carry a baby and give birth to a baby.
I want to nourish a child in my body,
Mm-hmm.
and then my body decides when it's time for the baby to come out, and then I go through that miracle.
I'm okay with that being done by my wife.
Right.
That doesn't look like fun to me.
I told him that if it came out of your parts, that'd be pain.
One of
You'd be surprised.
One of the highlights of the wedding for me was meeting your brothers.
Ooh.
And,
Yeah.
no,
so sweet.
Oh, please. And getting them to low down on what the real Elvis is like. Oh, that was fantastic. I have all kinds of evidence now.
Your brother Brad is awesome. by
Oh,
the way.
God.
He's something else. So anyway, back to you, Dr. Oz, because it really is all about you. Today, Dog the Bounty Hunter will be there. Also, talk about how you're deputizing your audience members. This is another new thing you're doing.
So, we do a lot of investigations on the show. We do food investigations. Is cauliflower pizza crust really better or not?
Is it?
Usually not. But I'll tell you why. If you really, really get cauliflower, it's perfect. But a lot of times it's bread, a little bit more bread, preservatives, chemicals, and then cauliflower. Okay. So if it's the number 1 or 2 ingredient, I'm good with it. But a lot of times it's not. So just, we vote with our pocketbook 3 times a day. If you look at the ingredient list and they've got the right ingredients, cauliflower at the top, then buy it. Support that company, not that company that slips in cauliflower, the ninth ingredient, and then proclaims loudly on the packaging that it's cauliflower crust.
I got you.
So anyway, so we do, but we also do investigations about true crime things like R. Kelly's, all that stuff's on tomorrow. So but here's what I'm finding: the average person is really so smart. They can solve a lot of the crimes, debates, food fraud. They can get ahead of this. But when we see things, we don't say things. So I'm asking everybody to actually be part of the detective process. Today's New York Times, whole weekend, there was a whole thing on pedophilia, which I'm very frustrated about because the internet's not been able to police itself on this. The same thing for fake ads. We need real people to police it. If you see these people are out there, you got to identify them.
I'll tell you what, this story, I was reading it in the New York Times yesterday. They did a huge investigation about pedophilia and why it is so out of control, rampant right now. They're saying pedophilia in America is at a level where it's just out of control.
Because they can hide their identities as they circulate photos of these tragic rapes. And then there's a whole subculture that embraces that.
It's so scary.
But the thing is, who prevents that? Us. It's always been us. Look, what is evil? Evil's not bad people doing bad things. Evil is good people seeing bad people doing bad things and not doing anything about it. So I'm deputizing folks because I want them to feel like they're the sheriff. Go out there, and I'm not talking about vigilante stuff. I'm talking about actually being honest when you see stuff, saying things about it, raising the. It's hard. Put your hand up. If you're the only one to put your hand up, you get shot. But if we all put our hands up, then we'll all be able to change this.
Just don't shake your head and walk away.
No.
Yeah.
When it comes to pedophilia, racism, sexism, anything ism. When you see someone being done wrong, don't just walk away.
This is the sermon from church yesterday when I was when they were talking about the gospel and everything, and he was doing his homily. It was about how many times you see somebody that needs help, and you walk away and you don't help them, you don't take the time, and how you later on kick yourself because you're like, oh my gosh, I should have done something.
Our ministers must have gone to the same
I think so.
pre-evaluation. That was the whole comment about being brave, right? Mm-hmm. You go out there and do what you know is right. If you think back about the history of humanity, 70,000 years ago, when we were finally trying to figure out who we were as a species, it was all about the safety net of each other. So if we're not there for each other in our times of need, which is critical, right? The best solution for mental health issues is actually people around you supporting you emotionally, because we're not supposed to be alone. Genesis 2, they wrote about that actually, right? Man's not supposed to be alone. That's why they made women, theoretically, but much more than that.
God, I missed
each
that
other. Much more than that, actually, right? It was really the bigger story was we're not supposed to be by ourselves.
Right.
The epidemic is loneliness. The antidote to that is right in front of us. That's why this show is so popular, I think, because people can turn the radio on, whatever they're doing, and they see real community happening. And that's what we all see. We crave it.
Is that why people listen every day? That's why people watch your show? It's a connection.
I overtly say that to my staff. When we're not actually connecting with each other, then the show's not working. That's why I think that you look at things that work and don't work. The things that are most impactful are the things, and the ones that mean the most to us, the ones where they have true human connection happening. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work. That's why the marriage that I was so blessed to attend with you and Alex was so important, because
you were a superstar.
It's the one covenant, the one contract we sign with society. We don't sign a birth certificate or a death certificate, but we actually sign the marriage certificate, and that commits us to be a member of community, supporting relationships, building families.
So I sent a text to Dr. Oz the other day.
Which one? Not that one.
No, not that one. I sent you a text after I did the show with you, and you said, my team fell in love with you all over again today. So real, impactful. Thanks for visiting. And then I asked you a question, and I want to get deeper into this. My question for Dr. Oz was, after all these years, are you still having fun? You're into your 11th season now. You've been in the operating room as one of the leading surgeons in America for twice as long, at least.
Yeah.
Are you still having fun? Is Dr. Oz a fun guy? Is he having a good time? What's different today than 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
I'm having too much fun, some might say. I tell you, you know what's different? You get past the small stuff. You don't get caught up in moment-to-moment issues. I remember when I did my first heart operation. And, the first operation you do is a big deal because someone trusted you with a human life. And they don't realize you've never done it before by yourself.
Yeah. Well, I guess you don't tell them that, right?
No, but you have people around you can call on if you have issues, but everyone's watching you. But they purposely, it's like when you send your kid off to school the first time. Everyone's watching you. They know that's the first time, but they want to see how you manage it because you're going to have to figure it out how to, so you're not really flying solo, but you think you are. And I remember going through all the machinations and the self-beratement. I didn't do that perfectly. That wasn't right. That stitch could have been a little this way. And over time, you realize it's not about those small things. It's about the bigger message that you're trying to portray. And the small stuff you'll let go. I see that in you too, Elvis. I see where you first started a lot. There's 50 buttons, by the way, in front of me. It's like being in an airplane cockpit here. And Elvis and his team are pressing the buttons and it all works. And it seems seamless from the outside world. But the reason it's like that is because you're comfortable in your own skin. And the difference between me 11 years in and when I first started on the Oprah show, I had no idea what I was doing. But I also, because in that naivete, that was something that was cool, right? I remember going on her show the very first time, and I wore I had a nice suit. I took my suit off because I didn't want to mess it up, and I was going to handle organs, so I put on cheap scrubs, not realizing that 15 million people are going to watch me in cheap scrubs, and I'd rather put on the nice suit. That's the level of disconnect I had. Today, when I do the show, I'm much more comfortable with the way it flows. And I'm reminded of something Oprah said early in my career. We had Michael J. Fox on as a guest, and the interview had gone sort of backwards. He jumped the gun and said something. It was brilliant, but it was just said in the wrong order. And he looked over and said, "I'm really, really sorry. I know I wasn't supposed to say that then." And she said, "No, what you said was exactly how it was supposed to go." There was just a space that you give yourself and people around you to be who they're supposed to be. And that's where human connection lives the most.
Talk about it.
Preach a little bit. I think we orchestrate our lives too much. I don't know if you sense this, right? People have a very set way they want things to go. You on vacation, there's this, it's all organized. And the problem with that suffocating stranglehold you have on order is that it drains out the true chi. It doesn't let life live the way it's supposed to live, which is why when I have the kids on when we're playing on the weekend, I try not to structure it too much. You have a couple little things. You got to show up at church, or we're playing sports tomorrow. I don't care what you say. You have to play. That fighting I like a little bit, the tension, because I want to have a little bit of an interaction with them. And getting your daughters to react with you is hard. So you've got to pick fights sometimes on purpose. This is a father's advice. I'll tell you, you've got to find some connection. So sometimes it happens with tension, not love, or not perceived love. But the bigger story is you have to give the room a little bit of space so people can be who they are, because that's where the real conversations happen, right? If I walk into my kid's room and say, "Okay, how's school go today? Anything you want to tell me? All right, I'll be right back." Right? That's not going to work. If you're sitting there for 5-10 minutes, eventually they want to talk, and they open up. And the biggest secret of all parenting is that the kids really, really listen to what you say. They don't say they listen to what you say, but they absolutely hear you. And I see it in Daphne now, my oldest daughter, who's got 4 grandkids, because I see her telling those kids exactly what we told her 30 years ago. Wow. Exactly.
That's going to freak you out a little bit.
That's what we always say. "Oh my gosh, I'm turning into my mother."
Yes, good. Which is a good thing.
That's a good thing. Yeah. Well, look, God, I've said it. How many times have I told you I love you? And we all love you.
Yeah.
And you know what? Thank you for leaving space for us at the table, because you always have space at our table here. And Dr. Oz, thank you.
It's so funny you say that.
He made me cry on the show. I cried.
Good.
On the show when you watch Wednesday.
Really?
I cry like a baby.
He's so brilliant. I tell you, I was with a friend yesterday. He said they always set an extra plate at the table. And I said, why? Because the symbolism is so important to us. We want there always to be the belief in our family there's an extra spot for someone who needs us. So they always set an extra set. It's actually a very thoughtful concept.
That's so nice.
And the other thing was, I'm going to challenge everyone right now.
Okay, challenge us.
When you sit down today, how many of you put your bag, your purse, your suit, your briefcase next to you on the chair next to you? Right?
We do it. It's
right.
there all the
Just to
time.
sort of keep your private space. Don't put anything on that chair. Let someone sit there. I mean, I'm speaking metaphorically, of course, but leave the seat next to you open so that someone feels welcome to sit there. It'll change your life.
You know the people we work with?
We don't want them
by me.
Yeah.
That's why I love this show.
By the way,
they go so deep.
Craven, our friend Craven, who called about masturbating too much, is still on hold. Hold on. Are you still there?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
He's
in the bathroom. No,
he is in the bathroom.
Why are you? You're still there?
You told me to hold on, so I held on.
Don't hold on too tight. It might fall off.
What's he been doing for 15 minutes?
Exactly.
I think we know.
Dr. Oz in the 11th season with, of course, Dog the Bounty Hunter on today. In Crisis, Dr. Oz gives a house call that you have to see, and that's on today's show. I'll be on with you Wednesday.
Watch Wednesday's show with Elvis.
That means tomorrow's show's like crap.
No, tomorrow's show is R. Kelly, actually. The ups and downs.
I'm going to skip your show tomorrow.
You know what? You're doing some great stuff, Dr. Oz. We love you.
I love you guys, too.
All right, we'll be back right after this.